You're okay with the fence? I know we talked about it briefly last time.
Yes.
Did I win?
Oh, this one's more.
Yeah. Do you want this?
That's it, right?
copy?
Here you go. Alrighty. As I said, ARB 1818 will not be heard. There's no new materials, so having been submitted, so we'll go on to our new matters. ARB 18-31, 85 North Broadway. It says landscaping, but it's really more about some walls.
Hi, I'm Claire Cornish, the applicant, and I'm here because we put in a patio and some paving stones and small garden walls, and we needed to get them legalized. The patio was made out of old bluestone that had been recycled, and the walls as well were old fieldstone, and it was kind of built into the grade of the yard, and the stepping stones were put to enable my husband, who has a disability, to get across the yard. But then we found we were over coverage, so we have removed the majority of the stepping stones.
So the original drawing shows the walkways, the stepping stone walkways or
Right.
walkways that are being removed.
Yeah. Mhm. So basically, we've only got like 5 stepping stones here, 3 here, and 3 here, and the rest have been taken out.
And the stone walls are.
The fieldstone Yeah.
The patio is fieldstone. No,
is bluestone.
Bluestone.
These are fieldstone.
Okay.
And like they called them retaining walls, but the highest one is about 18 inches. They're kind of garden walls.
The one on the left is actually retaining something.
Right,
I
yeah,
guess it's-
this one is. Yeah, but these are kind of more decorative. And I have filled it up with all native plantings.
Have you already removed?
I have removed the paving stones, yeah. And grassed them in. Some of them are here.
How far over coverage were you? If you don't mind me asking. Couldn't have been a ton.
No. There was a couple of hundred, I think.
I guess once you added the patio, you went over.
Right,
Once the patio was
Mhm.
added, and then you had to make up for it.
right.
Seems like it's a good way to make up for it. Any questions, ladies? John? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the application?
So moved.
Second? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
I hope you got to see my handiwork.
Aye.
Anyway,
I'm impressed.
you are good. Good
I'll
job.
give it to you to keep.
You can take the drawing.
All right. Yeah. Thanks.
Now we move on to ARB 18-32, 57 Riverview Road, fence.
Good evening, my name is Leo McLaughlin, I'm the owner, and basically we're looking to put up a fence to enclose our backyard. We decided to use the same fence as our neighbor has.
Your neighbor to the left or to the right?
Yes, to the left.
The mayor.
And you see the big picture of it there.
Okay. Now, the building department tells me that part of the fence that was on the right-hand side, actually on our drawing, on our sketch, continues into the right-of-way,
Yes,
and that
yes.
needs to be eliminated. So if we approve it, I will approve it less what I'm showing on this drawing, because it is on the drawing, and I have to take that section of the fence out that's above the.
Okay, our neighbor's fence goes through the right-of-way as well. We were hoping to match it.
Old Street, Old Mum Street.
I was told by the building department that it's not supposed to go through the right of way. What I will do is mark it up, if appropriate. The right of way, and they can make that decision. The building
Okay.
department. So we're going to approve it now. You have an 11-foot opening for the driveway?
No, actually, that's for gardeners and landscaping kind of things.
Oh, I see. Is that gonna be open regularly, or
No.
it's just a very long stretch for, just two hinges? And it just looks like,
Yeah, usually they put a post in the middle and then,
or at least a roller, a post with a little roller on it so they can roll it away, because it's really long, and I can see it starting to sag after a certain period of time.
yeah, I mean, we had one of these at our old house, and basically, the post in the middle just stays there until,
The only reason I ask is because I didn't see it, and I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
some attention has been given to it.
yep.
Is it specific about what the material is on there? I didn't see it.
It's a cedar.
Is it cedar with a clear finish, or did it say it?
Materials. It's on the next page.
Cedar.
No.
It doesn't say what the finish is. Just making it to match neighbors. Is it the,
That was certainly our intention.
is it the same height?
Yeah,
Like just
yeah.
carry all the way?
Yeah.
I don't believe there's a finish on it at all. I think it's just gonna age.
Okay.
But-
Match exists, that's it.
Any other questions from anybody on the board? Okay. With the exception of my note, if appropriate, through the right-of-way, I will ask for a motion to approve as amended.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
So you will have to bring up the issue with the building department about the right-of-way issue. Okay. Moving along to another fence issue. ARB 18-33, 8 West Sunnyside Lane fence.
Good evening, everybody. Michael Haddad, I'm a recent homeowner of 8 West Sunnyside, which I'm told is the old Peter Pizer house. It's now going to be the Haddad house. My wife and I just bought it earlier, last month actually. So the proposal is to include a fence on the side of the house that borders the aqueduct. There are currently old fence posts there, old wrought iron. Those are going to be removed as part of this process, and that fence is going to be black aluminum, 6 feet high. It will match identically to the fence to the rear of the house, to our neighbor. That fence is then proposed to wrap around to the front of the house and reach the side that also faces the aqueduct where the garage is, and there are going to be 2 openings there to get to the back of the house and also to the backyard. And to perfectly enclose the fence on the other side, on the river side, we're proposing to include a 5-foot fence with 2 openings. They're going to go from the river side of the house to our neighbors to the right towards the river. They have a wooden fence there, and it's going to go along that fence. Purpose of the fence is to enclose the yard for the dog and for the young children, and also to match the aesthetics of the neighborhood. And also, on this side, I failed to mention, there are also old wrought iron fence posts from probably when the house was originally built in 1938 that we're also proposing to remove as part of this project.
Okay, so on your sketch, you have a line, this line with the X's on it. Yes. Is that an existing fence that can remain?
That's the existing fence that is the aesthetics of this fence will match with. That's correct. There should be pictures of the fence and all the other paperwork around yeah, that's correct. Yep. The contractor who's local, based in White Plains, will be doing the work, and all the paperwork around the workers' compensation and insurance and et cetera, all in place.
Are you doing the ring detail, or are you doing the solid on the second page?
Which fence are you putting in?
Can I see the first page, Sarah?
Is this the check right here?
It's on the top.
Okay, I see it.
That's correct.
Temporary, yeah.
It's temporary.
My wife put the paperwork together, so I'm assuming it's pretty complete.
Okay, it's fine.
She's pretty detailed.
So I find this amusing, this is the street view, you have some guest in your front yard. That's what you're getting.
I've seen him him or her every time we've been to the house, and this will have to divert the. Actually, no, that deer will be fine there in the front.
Yeah.
All right, so on the fences, are you proposing that the fence have this feature that you have here?
There should be a collection of pictures at on the back that actually specifically identify which of those fences. It should be I believe the last page of that pack, or the second to last.
I see that, but I don't see.
Is it not ticked?
That is, the fence itself is, I wondered about the gate, because that's the same fence as you're showing there, whereas this gate, is that,
Yes,
you will have that scallop?
yes.
You're putting your fence in front of the brick wall
Yeah, it's
for the patio?
Oh, the patio on the side?
Yeah,
No, it'll be behind it.
behind it,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and there's going to be an entrance for landscaping on the far end because there are some pretty old trees in the back that we're looking to maintain.
So you have two gates on the left-hand side of the house, 4 foot wide, and then what's happening here, this is a 4 foot wide gate, and this is a 10 foot wide gate?
That's correct.
Landscaping gate?
Yeah.
One's low, one's high.
Yes.
So I guess.
There's a bit of elevation in the back.
Yeah, everything.
That's exactly right.
So the one gate goes to your
Why
one
not
patio.
say
the other one-
indicate, does it indicate on the drawing that it's behind the, that's the drawing, right? That you're gonna use for location, this one. I would indicate that it is behind the brick wall. That's okay. Which part of it? Which part of it? So here's the brick wall that we're seeing on the street, that's the brick wall there. And that's indicated if you go to the survey, it's shown. I don't think it really shows it in the survey. I can't read it. I can't read it, yeah.
This wall is here, this is that back wall.
No, it's this wall.
Yeah. On the other end.
I'm sorry, is the proposal to have it be in front or behind? Because there's a patio there, and the
Yeah,
other
you don't
thing
want,
to be mindful of is there's a lot of old trees there that we're just gonna have to make sure we stay away from the root system. I think that's the reason the architect drew it.
is that, how
Very
high is
good.
the patio wall?
Oh, it's no higher than probably 3 feet. It used to be I found the old drawings for the house, and it used to be an actual structure, but it's since come down.
You see it in the pictures? I didn't see it. So this is not in- So, the question is, how do we handle the fence?
Well, you said it's behind the brick wall.
Yeah, but there's a terrace, I don't think it's on hardscape. That's on hardscape.
It was
Here's
the
what
one that behind the fence.
I would have said, ask them if they could put it into the wall. It's gonna go-
Different pieces on the wall.
Where? It's right there. That's right where the first piece is. So right adjacent to that is where you want the gate? Is that where you?
Yes, that's right.
It's right on that corner. I think you just have to indicate that it's,
Not gonna be 3 feet in the air, but.
Yeah,
right
along
in
the back,
front of
right.
The trees that are there, I mean, that's the thing I'm most mindful of, and obviously the old patio.
In front of the brick wall.
So-
I think it's going to be in front, yeah, that's correct. Sorry, I think I misspoke earlier.
I will mark that on the
We've done it where we put it on the wall, have them drill a couple of holes and set it in the wall, and it looks like it's part of it, but I think I'll defer to you because it's just,
It's more keep up what you're doing in the rear,
yeah.
Yep.
like putting it behind your driveway.
Right.
Set up high,
Right.
rather than putting it in this,
There's an entrance off that back room that we want to be able to,
the low end.
yeah.
So there's gonna be, you're gonna have a fence up here, and you're gonna have a fence down here, right? It's gotta be,
Sorry, can you explain that to me again?
I'm just going based on the, so when I look here,
Right.
you pull in your driveway, right?
Yep.
The fence is gonna be up at that level, where
That's
you got that
correct.
dash line, but your pathway, and I can't tell what's behind the house, because I don't know,
Right.
but there's a gate there.
There's a gate there.
A gate there.
Yes, that's.
So I don't know if there might be
There's a
steps.
staircase there,
Okay.
exactly, with an old wrought iron railing.
I think essentially what Ken's getting to is, if this was up at that same level, it would look consistent across the face of the building.
Oh, I
Because you
thought
have
he was
two-
referring to the
No,
other
he
side of the
is.
house.
I
Yes,
am,
but it would look,
if I'm
that's
looking at the
okay.
whole-
I think you're never gonna.
So I'm just trying to figure out which
Yeah, it
where
does.
it actually goes.
It does slow down.
I think it's fine in here as long as it's not any plans to landscape in between or behind, have like,
Not at this point. I mean, I've not thought about that, to be honest.
just, it's not crucial.
I'm not drilling into that old patio wall. That was a thought, but it's only maybe, 4 bricks high. I'm not quite sure how stable that is.
Mhm.
Pretty old. It's an interesting property.
Technically speaking,
Yeah.
that 3-foot wall is a hazard, if it is 3 feet tall. I mean, I'm not telling you to go really.
Yeah, it used to form the,
Exactly.
yeah,
Because the foundations, whatever, still look different.
yeah.
Okay, any other questions, concerns? So I would make a motion to approve the application as modified to show the back wall existing to remain, the wall, the front wall to be in front of the brick wall, and that the gate is the 10-foot gate is the gate for landscaping access.
Yep.
Do I have a second, a motion to approve?
So,
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Terrific. Thank you.
good luck.
See you around town.
Welcome, I say welcome.
Do you want to?
Thanks very much. Yeah, sure.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, nice. Oh, Mike Haddad. Great to meet you. Yeah, we're, there's another one coming, so we'll be,
Your neighbors, right?
Kind of, yeah.
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 Okay.
See you guys.
Moving on, we have another fence. ARV 18-34, 47 RJ Avenue West, fence.
My name is Richard Quigley. I'm a landscape architect with the Office of IQ Landscape Architects in White Plains, New York. I'm representing my client, Alex and Ann McLaughlin, who are also new. I guess they've been here a year or two. The reason why they brought me on to study a fence going across their property is because they have 2 real little ones. One's still crawling, the other one is just starting to run around. And if we all know Ardsley Avenue West, there's a road that produces speed bumps, that's for sure. So the reason for the fence is an aesthetic one. They wanted to do the right thing. And at the same time, be able to make sure that they can have a closed environment for the kids so they can also run out on their front lawn, basically, to see it in the plan. Now, the other part of the plan is there's a pretty deteriorated brick walk that kind of serpentines, in which I wanted to kind of add a little geometry to it, so that when you approach the gate, you're coming in on a perpendicular, and the square footage of the new patio, the new walk, is equal to what exists, so there's no additional impervious surface. The one other component, let me say that the 3 components are the 42-inch high fence, which is a traditional Sudbury picket, a gate with a very light arbor to kind of define the entrance, and then driveway gates that will be able to be closed so that the children, again, are protected from the street. It's going to be painted white. The other part is we're going to have a light post. I ran that by Mr. Marin. He says that we're allowed to go 2 feet into the right-of-way. As we get approved by, I think it's the DOT or whatever the highway department. So in plan, you could see where the post is located, just to kind of discreetly give some light. And again, in the same character of the rest of the fence components. That's pretty much it.
So my question is, I'm familiar with the street. I absolutely agree that if there's a speed concern. I know the residents, I know the ages of the children, so I can appreciate that they want a fence, as I probably would as well if I was living there. My concern is that there's not many fences in Ardsley Park, certainly not on that side of the park, and there's even fewer white picket fences. So I'm curious why you picked the type of fence you did. Did you think that's the best keeping with the
Yeah.
style of house or with the neighborhood?
I think there's a real mix of things going down Ardsley Avenue West. You know, there's brick walls, there's even some non-conforming things that are into the right-of-way as you go further down to the west. There's an actual structure that's built within there. So I certainly I'm not closing my eyes to the streetscape and the character of that. I think it's very much in character with the house, this traditional architecture. I thought it was a real simple design.
Yeah, no, I know the neighborhood well, and I know you have a stone retaining wall and a very Mediterranean style house right next.
No, not Mediterranean.
What is
Right
that?
beyond,
Oh,
yes.
beyond,
Yes.
the next
Yeah,
one
right,
down,
next
yes,
house down,
yes,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So the contrast, and that's part of the beauty of that section of Irvington, is that there's a variety of housing, obviously. And I know that going on the other side, Hudson, heading away from the Ardsley on Hudson train station, that's heading east, that the neighbors also, some of those folks have a fence, but again, they're not white picket, certainly not with the traditional picket like you've selected. So I'm just a little concerned, and I kind of would look to the architects at the end, what your thoughts are on the type of fence. I don't know. I just know that it's a long fence, and it's definitely going to be very noticeable.
Well, it's set back considerably, so if you're looking at the overall streetscape and as you're sequencing down Ardsley Avenue West, certainly the house that's to the east of it as you're coming down has plantings and all kinds of stuff into that zone, and then on the other side it projects out even further, so by the time you get to where your right-of-way line is, it's pretty much set back. It really is. So it's not like you're coming along and then all of a sudden this fence is jumping out at you. You know, so
I would prefer that, I mean, there's fences all the way around the rest of the house, as I see it, right to the backyard.
Backyard has chain link, black vinyl coated chain link that was there when they purchased the house, yes. Certainly wouldn't want to put that in the front.
No, I guess what I'm saying is that the only entrance that the children are going to be going from is the front door. Like
No,
that's-
inside door. There's a side door here
Well,
as
that
well.
was my question. Why wouldn't the side door be adjusted so that the fence that's at the side door?
No,
That one right
there's a
there.
side
Yeah,
door
yeah,
here,
yeah.
there's the front door, and this is running across the front.
So why not put the fence in the same sort of situation that you already have on the west side, I'm totally disoriented as always. On the west side of the house, put that on the east side of the macadam, and then don't put the fence at all in the front.
Well, they want to use their front yard as space as well.
Well, that's a
How far back does the property go?
How far back does it go?
Is there a full site plan or survey?
Yes, the survey was submitted with part of the package.
They do have a sizable backyard.
Yeah, I'm just, it's, the one thing about Ardsley Park doesn't have fences, I mean, they're really rare to have a fence right near, I don't want to say near the curb, but it's about the beautiful houses and not the fences.
And I think this enhances.
I think I kind of feel the same way, that I would picture this more on maybe, more of a sprawling farm-like setting, like in Bedford or something. I'm not sure I agree with the character of the fence. I really don't have a problem with possibly putting a fence in the front, but I think I would want it to be a little less obtrusive, So, if it's
I would
to
be
keep
open
the
to
children
hear
safe,
what
of course.
one would think is less obtrusive. I certainly don't want to put a steel fence here. I don't think it's in character
Well,
with the house.
I don't know.
This is a real traditional
I know.
fence.
The-
And you could also say it's traditional to have a retaining wall in the front too, though, for Ardsley Park. I mean, it may be traditional for this type of house, but for this neighborhood, I have not seen a picket fence in all of Ardsley Park, a true picket fence. Do you have an example of one that is in Ardsley Park with a picket fence?
No, but I probably could ride around, probably. Look,
Yeah.
you know,
All of the, I'm just on Concord and each of the streets, you walk them and there's either a brick wall, very high brick wall, which says one thing,
Right.
or there's, the fences start at the face of the house and cover the backyard and the pool and everything, so it's all set back from the street, which is part of the, I guess, the plan of Ardsley Park. And I know the street very well. And the other thing that the people do, we've seen is privet with a hedge, with a wire fence, or on the backside of even a cyclone behind it. So the privet hides the fence, and it's part of the landscaping.
we have privet, coincidentally, but that's going to be just on the other side. You can see we photoshopped it in. We felt that the fence
So there's privet being added too.
in the inside, yes, because what the other thing is from their living area and their kitchen and everything like that, we were trying to soften from the street in a landscape, softscape approach.
Is that shown on the plan? Because I didn't.
No, it's not. I'm just showing over here. We photoshopped it in. There's the privet hedge. It goes essentially from here to here and here until you get close to the beech tree, which you can't plant because of the root system of the tree.
And had you considered just planting privet across and doing some type of fabricated
So you're saying
fence?
that you would accept a
Or the street view?
privet hedge
Oh,
with
sorry.
some sort of
Just
a
asking if you
deer
considered
fence or
it.
something in the middle of it, a 6-foot-high deer fence? I mean, I've done that many times in areas where I wasn't concerned about, aesthetics, but I feel like this is a nice, strong.
You can do a double layer of privet with wiring, you'll never see it.
No, I know I can do that. I've done it many times. Done it at my own house.
Look,
Yeah. Then what do you do with the driveway? Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you put the gate back at the house, and I think that's what Ken
Yeah,
was
that's what
suggesting.
I'm saying.
The corner of the house, the gate could be at the massing that comes out, and the fence could return back. I mean, there's plenty of space to slide it backwards.
What does one do about a gate? Goes all the way back here, you're saying?
Yeah,
That's what we were suggesting. I
And then
understand why the
I
owner
just
wants
don't
to
think,
use the.
and that they want to use it. They want to be, the beauty of a house is to be able to walk all around it. As a landscape architect, I can't stress that anymore, that it's wonderful to walk around the house uninterrupted. I don't want to be able to have to go through a gate each time that I want to walk around my property. I just think it's a lot to ask.
I gotta say, there's a lot of hedges with gates around, with fences, I'm just looking. Trimmed, formatted, sometimes loose, sometimes with additional planting in front of it. It's not, it really is the language of Ardsley Park, not.
I
And
certainly
and even with the, even a looser edge, like you see on, where is it, Clinton, you see that a lot, like where there's a looser edge, it's sort of a loose landscaping, a little more informal, that creates that edge.
Clinton probably has a couple.
Has one.
I know there's a very, very handsome Gothic steel fence with the, across from the Octagon House, I think it is.
Yeah, there's a,
Yeah.
Well, much to your point about, I understand how you want to amble around your property. I totally get it. In the same respect, like the front of your yard is the neighbor's yard and stuff too. You're saying you're putting up a fence one way or another. I mean, is there any way to, what Ken was suggesting, is like something that isn't so rigid as a straight line where your property ends? Maybe the gate steps back 15 feet and you turn it to a point that you can still circulate around, but the gate itself isn't at the same level, or I don't know.
It's not a very large driveway. I mean, it works,
I totally disagree with that.
spatially it works out so well. And then it
It's a
could
very
be,
large job.
you know, it could be mitigated, or if you want to call it mitigation, I don't, with some plantings. But then again, the plantings would be in the right-of-way. So,
Why would the plantings be in the-
because I'm on the right-of-way line, if you're saying we want to put plantings in
I
front of it.
mean, in all actuality, the fence could be pulled back
Yes,
from
it
the
can.
street further as well.
Yes, it can.
I'm sure the client doesn't want to pull it back because they want.
No, I don't think they'd have a problem with that, you know, I don't think, you know, 2 feet is one thing, for me to move it back to here and cut everything off,
No, what
that's
I'm-
another story.
What I just suggested was, it doesn't have to be a straight line. You can run a line across where you're suggesting it behind the existing beach, and it can hang, I guess that's north, actually. Oh, yeah, it can hang south, and you can actually have a full place to park in front of your gate if you wanted to. And then we aren't getting this solid wall of white that goes back. You're just giving it a recess to some degree. in the
Well,
fence.
you know, the gates have to operate, they have to have swings on them.
Well, that was going to be my next question
Yeah.
is, this is
19 feet.
19 feet
Yes.
unsupported in the center.
Well, this
Is it going to have wheels or?
It has been
Non-automated?
looked at, it may be, I wanted to see, you know, where we came, but there'll be steel in this gate. Whether it's channels on the horizontals, the posts will have a steel square member coming up where you weld your hinges to it, and it has to be wrapped.
Sure.
So, but I didn't get into those details. I didn't think that was what you were looking for.
I don't think moving it back a couple feet is going to satisfy the way it looks, everybody's opinion of the way it looks, versus, you know, moving it back to the building.
Look, I can tell you, I know the area very well because I used to live there, and so I can go from Bertha to Hancock to Clinton down to the Ardsley Park Station. I can tell you every house that has a fence, and I totally appreciate this needs a barrier, but there are no picket fences, and the only houses that do have fences have pools, or somebody like Diane Lowry's house, which is right to the north of this house. It's set back into the other point that was just made. It's kind of an irregular shape. There's not a clean line that goes straight across, and it certainly doesn't line up with this fence. So you're introducing something into this neighborhood that really was known for front lawns rolling into the other, and I get over time that isn't practical because we've got a lot of traffic speeding down Ardsley Park. So I do want to give them a barrier. I'm just not convinced that a picket fence straight across this lawn is the best approach.
In light of that comment, as you go further east, going towards Broadway, there are houses there that have brick walls that are very, very close to the curb. There is no sense of open lawn. They don't respect.
You mean closer to
They-
Broadway, I agree.
No, closer to the curb line along West Ardsley Avenue. So
That's
there is
right.
no sense of a front lawn there. This here, you're respecting the right-of-way line. There is a contiguous feel of this being open, although the houses to both sides come out further. It's just like this is set back into the architecture that exists to both sides. When I speak architecture, I'm speaking the landscape architecture. So I don't agree with it at all.
But I'm sure you understand, you know, landscape architecture. I mean, wasn't this whole area of Ardsley Park designed by Olmsted? I mean, the whole idea behind Ardsley Park was the open, rolling front lawn. So yes, over time,
So
since
how did
1920, when this area was designed by him, they were all open, and over time, there have been some additions.
There
But
have been a lot of compromises on that street.
this is a huge jump, is my point, though. If you really look around what you're introducing.
Okay, so let me understand this here. I could go and put a brick wall along my entire front of my house here, and you wouldn't have a problem with that. I could put a privet hedge with some sort of barrier within the inside across the front, and you don't have a problem with that.
You didn't
Personally,
say a 6-foot
Personally?
deer fence.
Personally, if you're asking me a question, yes, I believe that if you introduce some landscaping in the form of hedges, that to me is more in keeping with Ardsley Park than a white picket fence.
So, if I was to plant a privet hedge along the entire front with a few other things, highlighting where definition of entrance would be and all that stuff, and had the picket fence to the inside, you wouldn't have a problem with that.
You can't see it from the street, I probably would have less of a problem, but not
That's
necessarily
what- that's
privet,
what
not
we'll do.
necessarily picket. I'm just saying, but this is only me, you're asking
But
me
that's
my
what I'll do.
conversation. And I don't necessarily agree with the picket because I haven't seen a picket fence, but if there'd be another design of a fence within that, I could understand being acceptable from my personal perspective. Because I do want to give her a barrier. I understand there's a need.
So I don't know where to go here. I really don't.
Well, that's part of the decision that you have to make, is based
Well,
on the comments that you heard.
I presented what I think is right.
And I think people made a couple suggestions as to
Well,
what's right.
Unfortunately, I feel differently. I'm sympathetic to the fact that there are no picket fences in front yards in Irvington and
No, there are.
or in
that's
Ardsley
That's
Park.
not what people were saying. And I don't think stylistically the choices that were made, like, they make sense. It's in keeping with certain things, like there's an existing piece on the property that says this should match what's existing. The difference is the street side face of it is not in keeping with the rest of the neighborhood. The fence up against the house in the backs of other property, or other properties in the neighborhood where the border is the front of the house
Yes.
and fences to the left or right of it,
Okay.
the picket fence isn't jammed against your property line.
So,
And certain suggestions as to doing plantings or a mix of more stone or something more variable than just a white picket across the whole face is what the board suggested. It was multiple things. It didn't say do a privet and that makes us happy, or put up a brick wall that makes us happy. It's a bunch of different ideas other than that. That's what the board is saying. Is that fair?
I do, I think.
okay.
Because
So at this point, we have a choice. We can either vote on it, and you probably won't be happy with the vote, or you can.
No,
You
I know
can,
where
you
it's
can,
going.
you can tell us, you'll come back with an alternative design, and we'll leave the application open.
Well, that's what makes more sense.
Okay.
I want to come to a closure here.
So I need to hear you say, I would like to come back.
Not really, but I'd like to go
I
back.
need to come back. That I'd like. I need to come back.
I'm not this guy, believe me.
And that's why we're giving you this type of information. We are.
Yeah, no, hey, look, I respect it. Not that I have to agree with it. but I
Right,
respect it.
that's right.
all. I'm a design professional, I deal with this stuff all the time.
Can I ask this question? Is there a big drop from the house to the road?
No.
No?
No, not really. Not at all, it's pretty flat.
Okay, so we,
Another question too. Is there plans for plantings in front of the fence after the fact?
Yes, there are plans for some plantings, mainly in this area over here. We're going to plant in between where the walk was and all.
Or it's suggested
This was
in
going to
the-
really be kind of, wanted to make it more like a garden space. So that's why I was saying that, I like the picket, my client likes the picket. If I was able to convince you that if I put a privet hedge, look, if I didn't have, deer and stuff like that, we'd have a much greater palette to deal with. But unfortunately, this place is infested.
It's ever been.
Yeah.
One thing I'll point out to you just for what it's worth, but the house that's on the corner of Ardsley and Bertha Place, it's a for lack of a better word, but it's like a French Tudor. It's a huge house on the corner. The
Mhm.
aqueducts, it sits on the aqueduct.
Yes.
They put in a swimming pool, and over 15 years ago, they wanted to fence that corner lot for the pool, and they went through hell trying to get it, and they didn't allow it. And if you take a look, the only thing that was allowed is the very tight fence around their pool, and it's not at all ideal, but that's what the owners.
What's the material?
It's aluminum fence, but the point being is that they ended up putting in rose privet because that was the only thing that it could approve. So this is in keeping with prior boards that they did not want fences in Ardsley Park, especially not invisible, even on Ardsley. So for what it's worth, you can take a look at that. You
So-
take a look at that house, and they have a circular driveway, and they had to add all that privet instead of
Just so I
putting
can
in
get
fence.
the possible direction here. If I was to come back to you next month, whenever the next meeting is.
2 weeks from tonight.
It wouldn't be desirable to see anything in this zone. Correct?
I disagree with that. Because I just think there's more opportunity than just a straight line across there.
Mhm.
And like personally speaking, and I don't know, it doesn't, if the goal is for you to circulate fully around the house,
Mhm.
I think there's in-betweens by stepping it back, taking other steps, or creating, you can create a garden here for this whole corner of the property, because this is just going to be a pathway, and you could step back the drive here, or do something different and open it up in different ways. It doesn't have to be a straight line. You're a design professional, as we are, and you know that there's more ideas than that, than just the straight line across, right?
There's endless
No,
ideas.
exactly.
It's just that I thought this was the best one and still do. You know, that's all.
I think the same way too.
I'm
until
open
I
to that.
have boards.
But I have to be sympathetic to my client
I understand.
who has a need
I
for
understand.
their children to have the ability to go around the property.
Totally.
We're going to take the picket fence out over here, and then they have another picket fence here. We're going to take that out. We wanted to make the property more of a kind of a play event for the kids. And if we do
Totally
grow
understand.
some different flowers and all, and the kids can go in the garden and all that. I just have a hard time with thinking about, just blocking this off and being a garden and doing this and that. I just don't get what it does. So, but thank you very much for your input. I'll see you in a month, I guess.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yep.
Well, now you put the
Thank you.
pressure on me. Okay, thanks, everyone. Have a nice night.
Okay, the next item up on the agenda was 1835 2 Cindy Lane Solar. That is not going to be heard tonight. But I have to make the call. So that will, they do not have, they have not provided evidence of notice to adjacent properties with 10 days prior to this meeting, so we will have to wait for the next board meeting. So we go on to the last but not least, ARB 18-36, 30 Half Moon Lane. It's an addition.
Hi there, I'm Arthur Chabon, representing Claudia and Carrie Houston. We are proposing a small addition to the rear of this house. It's about 477 square feet, and a small addition in the front. The additions are shown in this sort of blue, the existing house in gray. This was not in your package. This is the existing house as it is now, and this is what we're proposing for the exterior, which consists of recladding it in a combination of board and batten cedar for the lower level, and then a shiplap cedar siding for the upper level of the house. We're extending the roof to create a more defined entrance and changing the garage doors. At the
Arthur, are you taking down the landscaping that's there? It's pretty.
No. We just don't show it, or else it would completely obliterate the
Yeah, it does
image.
completely obliterate it.
Yeah.
I can't comment on it, but it's a little bit of, I don't think you're doing yourself justice because the tree that's there at the entrance is going to be right between the garage and the entrance.
Yeah, it covers everything. I mean, my experience with boards is when I show trees.
No. It's in a perspective, in an elevation, I
Yeah.
get it. I think it actually would help this, but that's okay. That's
Mhm. Well, but it's important that you see what we're doing.
What's the third material?
The third, the shingles up in the gable. It's all, the entire building is cedar. So the variation is in the board and batten for the lower level. We'll call this the mid-level, which is the shiplap siding, and then shingles in the gable.
So is it a different color shingle on the right, or is that?
No. The intent is that everything will be basically the same color. These renderings can be a little bit
Do
funky,
you know
but
the history of the house, how it was done, the additions?
no, I don't know a lot about the history of the
And
house.
does it exist, it's stucco now, is that what it is?
It's painted clapboard and brick too. So this section here is all painted clapboard. This is all brick.
That's what I'm talking about, the light portion on the new rendering is, or the light gray portion.
That would be painted brick.
Got it.
The most of our work really is at the rear of the house, which I guess is less important to you guys. But
Part of the story.
part of the story, yeah. We're introducing, we're recladding the brick chimneys with stone, with a New England field stone, and this is the extension that I described in the floor plan.
Is it a post and beam construction, or is this just?
No, it'll be a
Because
conventional
you're showing.
2x6. We'll express the post and beam, but it's not
It's not.
not real.
So I'm not sure it helps, but I can't. Like when I see post and beam that's not real, it sort of always, it makes me think of how you do the infill, right? You're filling it, you're expressing the end gable, you're expressing the different sort of structures, and I just was wondering why it sort of jumped around. So now I'm just curious.
Mm-hmm. Well, the clients wanted a sort of
Is it, so, just to talk about it, Arthur.
Yep.
The vertical and the horizontal expression, if you could speak to that.
well, I mean, the idea was to sort of create this continuous feeling of a base across the whole building, and that's done by maintaining the eave at the same height and then using that same datum where we switch the direction of the materials.
So, just to comment on that, would you ever consider adding, again, in the post and beam idea,
Mm-hmm.
adding continuing the eave line literally along all the way around? Because here, when you make the change, you just have a small, I can't quite see the detail, but
You're saying a bigger,
a bigger
fascia.
expression, a fascia, or,
like the post and beam on that outdoor kitchen, looks
Right.
like it's like 10 inches deep, and when it rolls around, it turns into like a 1x3 or something. Or
Yeah, it's just
you know,
yeah, I mean, we certainly played around with that. It got a little crowded as
In
the
there, yeah, I can see
casings
that, yeah.
merged.
and I thought that was the idea of the bay would jump off it, that sort of makes sense.
And then it also, I think in the front of the house, it also
Yeah,
it just felt heavy, because you have this band, and then to introduce another thick band, it just kind of, I think what's important in this facade is to, while we are dealing with that idea of weaving the house horizontally, I felt it was also important, even with the change in direction, to give this some sense of verticality. We inherited this massing, so.
It seems stacked rather than, would you ever think of taking the horizontal and having it bell curve out a little bit, be a little more expressive when
You mean to do like a little flare here?
a little flare?
Yeah, I mean, those are actually things we played with, yes. But,
Or maybe see, what it looks like is that it's even, the space under the windows and over the downstairs windows is so even, it doesn't have a sort of hierarchy. This is a minor thing in the architectural expression. But the house sort of comes down, right?
Right.
In the new wing, everything sort of comes down to the ground, and it feels like the upper part wants to, pardon my crudity here, the skirt would sort of come down and sort of be at the wrapper where the verticals are underneath it, or at least have that appearance. It just seems so even. I'm sure you went through 10 versions of this thing.
mhm.
Can I hop on? Sorry,
Sure.
I think the problem is that it looks like 3 equal layers, and there isn't a hierarchy to it. And the thing that I see is the faux beam or fascia that's coming across where you switch to shingle. I kind of rather just see your horizontal go up so that the top feels heavier than the bottom. It's all.
But the horizontal goes up.
No. In my eyes, this is harming the weight of this. Like I don't see the third transition to another cedar. There's a lot happening with a lot of different textures. And my thought was maybe that line's there, but the horizontal happens above it rather than shingles. That little amount of shingle that's up there, and
Right.
the top feels heavier than the bottom.
When I look under the eave at the wing, right, and you have the vertical, that's perfect, right? It slides up under the eave. I'm talking about the entrance, right,
Where?
right there,
Yeah.
right? It slides up under the eave. It feels good. It feels the language, everything.
The spacing,
It's a board
the
pattern,
spacing
right?
here is bothering you, right?
Yeah.
You're replacing the windows, but you're leaving the
Well, yeah, the fenestration, the openings all of these are existing openings.
Right.
And, this basic configuration of the roof is also existing.
Yeah, no, I don't think, yeah, again.
But the
way you
band,
sort
the
of
band
pull it-
doesn't exist.
Right,
but-
the band doesn't exist. But the way you did that, right, was to pull it down. Would you pull it down so it's over the windows? And that's what you do, right? You pull it to the top of the windows,
Right.
separates the top of the house. That's what happens on our house. We have a big horizontal, it's where you make a transition. And then you get down, and most houses will have a porch or a vent or something, but that the vibe just seems a little, it's neither here nor there. It's one and a.
So you're saying it shouldn't go?
Either, I don't know, I'm sure Arthur's tried it, which is the
Well, I mean, it's a pediment.
No, not that.
And-
The pediment's fine. And even the fact that you did the arch window, you got rid of the diagonals, great. Really good move, smart. Right? It's a fruit
I'm,
pediment.
I don't think a
thinking
house like this
horizontal
needs a
truss.
pediment, that's me.
I'm sorry?
I don't think a house like this needs a pediment. Just because I think it's like one too many moves going up the top of the post. That's just me.
What is the size of the, is it a shingle?
Yeah, it's a 5.5-inch exposure for the shingles and the,
Yeah. And it goes to what, a 9-inch below that, or is,
I believe a 7, and then I think 10 inches on the board and batten.
and will stay the cedar color? You're gonna seal it, or are you gonna?
We're going to seal it. We're going to seal it,
You're gonna seal it, so
Yeah.
it'll stay the color.
more or less.
Yeah. I think that's my only comment, but I have to.
I like everything that's happening on the right-hand side in general with the addition. It's just something about the tri-level separation of things.
Well, I mean, you you're looking at one view of the house. You have to kind of think about how it wraps around.
Yeah, I think that's great. The tree in front is gonna make it spectacular. I really do.
But you won't see everything you don't like.
Not that tree. That tree I think should be taken down. It looks like it's about to fall over. But sorry, one other thing, Arthur, is the driveway. Is there any way can bring that landscape closer to the edge of the house to create? That's just,
Oh, we will.
Yeah.
We will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You can flip.
Yeah, I mean, the other board is just the kind of summary of, our
And
different
it's
materials, which I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, these are more inspiration images. You
Yeah,
can't really
yeah,
take them. But you can see where, the basic language of the gable, the idea of introducing shingle in the gable, this kind of very traditional sort of green and green configuration for the window. Our board and batten, we're doing metal-clad casement windows, outswing casements.
They're all black with the.
They're going to be, yeah, it's a bronze, well, it's aluminum anodized to look like bronze. And the New England fieldstone and the GAF architectural shingles. I don't know if this is relevant for the discussion, but, give you a sense of the context, which is, there's no real architectural language that needs to be adhered to make the building fit into context. And you can see, I mean, I think this is still, vast improvement from the front. I mean, a lot of the projecting gable, the eaves, this is all stuff that exists. And, we do have a budget on this job, and, I cannot compel my client to do anything really much more significant to the massing of this two-story portion.
Can you go back to the front rendering? I don't have an answer, so I don't have comments. It's hard to say. Because I'm sure you flip-flop, like, if I turn it this way, do it, turn it this way, do it, make it tall, make it like that.
Yeah, I know,
Is that
definitely.
what you
We
I mean, part of me, maybe it is because the datum doesn't roll around, but I wonder if there is any benefit to. My first thing is my first recommendation is eliminate this and not have a secondary move in the mass. That's
Yeah, that would be we would end up what we have now, which is this project, because the eave projects, this eave projects significantly off the wall. So to leave that's actually what we're trying to correct.
the existing.
Yeah, the existing, you see that there's a significant overhang of that eave at the pediment, at the gable end.
Oh, there you go.
There's some, I can show you here.
It's flat. That's why I'm.
No, but there's a big projection.
Oh, no, you're talking about the eave over the.
Yeah, the
No, I'm
eave from the
not talking
wall.
about the eave. I'm talking about the
You're talking about the under, that
faux beam that's connecting them.
Right, I know exactly what you're talking about. And that, to me, is what we're actually correcting, to leave these as sort of floating, especially you have to work within the language that we're proposing. And given that, I think that it's important that this be closed and that we don't just leave this thing, which would be a much less probable way of building. If this were a post and beam house and you had that projecting gable, there's no question you would have a beam going across there.
Sure.
You need something or the roof would collapse. So it's a kind of a logical.
Right, but we're talking about a language that's inherently, we're mimicking a post and beam. We can suggest whatever we think is.
Oh, of course you can.
So
You've done it. You've opened up the mass. You did the what's that?
there'd also be a clear post in the middle of a post and beam.
No, not
Which
necessarily.
doesn't-
Not if you had a structural ridge, no.
Not in a post and beam. would
That's
have
what
a
we did
structural
all day
ridge.
long. Argue?
We're not saying a word. We wouldn't dare at this point.
Are you painting the trim a different color than the
You're probably very happy.
They'll be our nearest neighbors.
It's the intent is that it be close, but it's going to be paint and not stained, so
Yeah.
it'll,
It's not that well, but it just looks a little bit. That's all right. Only thing I would have said was pull it down. That's not it. Other than that, I think it's fine. And I'm not gonna say no.
I don't want to argue the merits of faux post and beam.
Yeah.
Versus one versus another. My only comment is, I don't believe that there needs to be 3 material transitions on that face for it to still look better.
mhm.
I think what you're doing by creating a band and not making it so massive one time is good enough for me. I guess that's what I'm saying. And I don't feel it as much in the back of the house because everything has the datum, the post and beam that you're suggesting on the actual addition all makes
Right.
sense. And I know you're dealing with a rough massing. If you were to start at that, you probably wouldn't make a shear wall. I don't think.
No, probably not.
So it's,
If it was going to be changed, yeah. All right, ladies,
Oh, no.
give it a shot.
Oh, no.
I think it looks really good. So, and I certainly understand their comments at that one point, but yeah, it's beautiful.
it's all fence talk.
Yeah.
You really don't see a lot of cedar houses down. That's the other thing.
No.
You really don't. And the trouble is you have to do it so that, I know you would, but all those fences that do cedar and then they put the cedar color on it, makes it look orange.
No, God, no. No.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, gentlemen, any other further comments?
Any landscape changes
Not that we're proposing
at this
at this point, no.
Because
All
you
the
did
landscaping would remain
I
as
think the best thing
existing.
is you got rid of those little edgies that are in the front.
Mhm.
Please come back for a lot more landscape.
No, we would love to do that, yeah. Certainly intended.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the application?
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.